I'm going to go over the OP build that I use. This is for tank setup, not a Devo. First things first, let's go over to boom picks. This is Cholt. I took regen, obviously because more hit points goes into your power sharing capabilities and survivability. Power. Took Death's Blessing for a little more survivability. You could do Impenetrable Jungle. It's up to you. I'm gonna do 2 points in a Death's Blessing though. That's my Cloak Ascendancy. Storm Kings. Elemental Evil. Maze Engine. I took Baphomet's Might at the end there, but I don't need it anymore. So I may go to Baleful Clutch, or I may even go to Displace Fate. I'll probably take Baleful Clutch. Tyranny of Dragons. Underdark. Icewind Dale. Dreadring. Gerandar. And then for your guild boons, power, hit points. If you don't have the hit point boon, I like lifesteal over defense. The reason I would prefer lifesteal is lifesteal procs Prism. So that's the reason for that. These are the feats that I run. A little different than what most people probably run. This is kind of like a dealer's choice. I run 3 in the Prism and only 2 in the Purify and Fire. I know some people will put like a point or 2 into Beacon of Hope. I don't like Beacon of Hope in PvE because it can actually heal the pets instead of the players. That's what I don't like about that. I know some people disagree with Divine Action being maxed, but I figure the more dailies I do, the more damage I can deal, and the more Prism is out for the party. That's the way I look at it. So, it's kind of the reasoning behind Divine Action. I know some people will take Wrathful Strikes, but I don't really do a whole lot of at-wills, because my dailies are coming back pretty quick. Obviously, if you're human, then the extra 3 heroic points you would take would go into Steadfast. But last time I seen somebody on the forums, they did a test, and once they put more points than 2 points in the Steadfast, it wasn't given the appropriate percentage of hit points. So I don't know if that's still bugged or not. Maybe something you may want to consider if you're human. Maybe not put more than 2 in there. Maybe put 2 points in Impassion Please. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a point in a Wrathful Strikes. Just something you may want to consider. My race is Metallic Ancestral Dragonborn. That's best in slot for the OP. Obviously, if you don't have that, the free races, you could go human. I personally wouldn't take human. I would take Tiefling because of the extra. You get the baby Fire Archon once they're below 50%. So I like that a lot. So I would take Tiefling over Human, in my opinion. The gear, everybody's a little different. If you're trying to be full-blown max power share as much as possible, the two helmets you're going to take is either going to be the guys of the Wolf Clan, or you're going to take the Rex Corona. I have a guys. I don't run it. I run Vivified Primal Helmet, as you can see here. It's more of a preference for me, but it's entirely up to you. Either one's going to make or break the build. Chest piece currently, best in slot's going to be your Primal chest. Obviously Vivified if you can get it Vivified. Gloves, I still run the Primal Vivified. The gloves, because the extra percentage that you gain from the equip bonus is power shareable. So to me, that's still best in slot. Weapons are going to be, I prefer Primal. Some people say that the Mastercraft weapons would be better because it's for the support class. I'm not spending the AD on that, so I'll stick with my Primal. Your offhand needs to be preferably Aura of Wisdom. There really isn't anything else viable, in my opinion. I took Combat Advantage bonus for that. Just as you can see, I was low on that. It was either that or Action Point Gain, but I just went with Combat Advantage. It's really up to you what you want to run with. Vivified Primal for the boots. You could run the Deathstalkers because that extra power is shareable, but I pop my dailies too much to, I don't really want my power to fluctuate that much. Not only that, this has got more hit points, so that turns into more power too. For your artifacts, this is kind of like my AoE setup for trash clearing. I run the Soulmonger set, Atropole set, some people call it. If I didn't have the decanter, then my up artifact for trash clearing would probably be either the wheel, or I would run the Sigil of the Devoted. When I get to a boss fight, I run the Soul Sight Crystal. Now, you build the O-Pound Paladin as a DPS in mind. So that's basically the reason why my boon picks and stuff are more DPS orientated. Your artifacts, you want to try to target artifacts that have power and hit points. It's like your 2 power over hit points, and then hit points over everything else. So like, got the Eye of the Giant. It's really good. It's a round robin of stats. You get 1,000 power and 2k hit points. Sigil of the OP. It's really good. It's free. Can't go wrong with that. Sigil of the GWF. That's good. It's free as well. Can't go wrong with that. Some people still prefer the Orca set. I do still have my Orca set. Sitting right here. But with my testing that I've done, I didn't actually lose any damage not running Orca set, and I went up in damage just a little bit. Like somewhere between 2 to like 3 and some change % overall. So that's the reason I made the switch. Not only that, the Soulmonger belt, it's 2 to Wisdom, 2 to Charisma. Because of your feat choices, Force of Will, you get anything past 10 in your Charisma, you get an additional 1% crit strike. Okay? And if you look down at your Wisdom, Wisdom also gives you crit strike chance. So that right there alone was for just those 2 to Wisdom, 2 to Charisma. That's 4% crit strike right there. Pretty good. It's also got 1,400 power. And then the neck piece also has 1,400 power as well. I like the stats on the belt And the neck, the only thing that I don't like with it is the neck's got deflection. But other than that, everything else I like. Uh, Again, that's a personal preference. That's just what I went with. Uh, Shirt and pants, I went with the primal paints. If you're trying to be more power share, you're going to want to go with the old gemmed. I think they're 435 shirt and pants because they got actual power on them. But again, that's up to you. Marines, best in slot's going to be a Grave Striker 4 and a Grave Striker 5. I don't have a Grave Striker 5, so that's why I just have the 4 on. That equip bonus of the extra power is power shareable, so that's the reason they're best in slot. So I just got the Bronzewood Raid and just a Grave plus 4. All your offensives are rads. They're all radiants. There's no exception. All your defenses, again, rads. No exceptions. Alright, so that's pretty much the gear. Let's see here. These are my ability rolls, which you've probably already seen. Constitution, Charisma, all the way down. The comps that I use. Like I said, you build OP like a DPS. So I run the 3 Archons. Siege and Tiger is summoned. I don't have any enchantments in here, but my Marines, I'm running 2 beaded assaults, a crit armor pin, and a bold neck plus 4. Normally in here, I run 6 rank 14 Gigantics. That puts me over cap on a lot of things, so I need to make adjustments to that. So basically, I don't like stacking power on my comp. Some OPs differ with this. Some of them will put power on there. I treat the OP like the way I build my DC. I don't try to put power on my companion at all. So I try to put crit, priority 1, armor pin 2, and then if I can squeeze in, recovery is my 3rd choice. Is what I've been trying to work into, more recovery. Some other choices for companions. If I'm running with a really good group, I will drop Siege, and if they have the Raptor, I'll run the Tame Velociraptor. Alright, so that's 5% if everybody's running it. Could also run a Batari route for boss fights. That extra percentage damage that he gives you does feed into temp hit points. So that's a plus with that. Siege also does that. There's pretty much any kind of DPS comps could work really well with the OP. Crit Sev, I used to use that back in the day. I don't use it now anymore, obviously, because I went on the percentile pets. You could go with that. For your weapon enchantment, there's 2 options. You could either run a Vorpal, which is the cheaper of the 2, or you could go with best in slot, and that's a Fae. In order for the Fae to be effective, though, it needs to be rank 12 Transcendent or higher. So that way you can get the buff. You can have 100% uptime off of its cooldown. But like I said, you could run a Vorpal, so if you're crit capped, you could run with the Vorpal, and Vorpals are pretty cheap. I do have a Fae. I have many characters, so my Fae's on a different character. For mount insignias, this is what I run. Run Cavalry's Warning, Gladiator's Guile, Protector's Camaraderie, Shepherd's Devotion, Artificer's Persuasion. Now, my insignias are, for the most part, Dominance. If you can't get Dominance with the power, then go with Prosperities because of the 800 hit points. So, even though you're not getting a direct feed into power, you get an indirect with the hit points. Prosperities are really cheap compared to a lot of other insignias. Um, so for armor enchantment, I didn't go over that. I'm using an Unparalleled Thunderhead. Uh, OP can pretty much use any kind of armor enchantment. You could run with the Thunderhead. Elven Battle's probably overall best in slot, because that's really the only hand that'll kill you at in-game. Stuns and paralysis, stuff like that. Another good one that some OPs will use is Negation. Now, you don't really need Negation, but the extra recovery you get is pretty good. So there is that with Negation. You could even use a Fire Burst. Fire Burst is really cool, little extra damage, and it looks sexy. You could run with that. You don't want to use Shadowclad. That's a no-go. That's pretty much it. You could even run with like Briar Twine if you wanted to. Like I said, that's one good thing about the OP. You can run with just about any armor enchantment. Let's see here. So for trash mobs, okay, I basically run Relentless Avenger. Once I initiate combat like I just did there, immediately go into Templar's Wrath, and I will Radiant Strike, Smite. Usually by this time the rest of the team's caught up, and the trash mobs will probably be dead. I know a lot of people don't like Relentless Avenger because it knocks mobs away, but trust me, when you get to in-game, the stuff's going to die so quick, nobody's really going to complain. The reason I like Templar's Wrath is because it's got a stupid long range. Let's see, like that. And another thing, as soon as you hit it, it does a AoE taunt to the mobs that you hit. And it also procs, if you're running a Fey Touch, it procs the Fey Touch. So as soon as you hit that one encounter, you're getting a 20% or 18%, whatever it is, depending on the rank. And then when you go into your Templar's Wrath, that's going to feed into your temp hit points. Alright. Smite never leaves my tray. It's really good. Good hard hit and single attack. It'll also do burn damage to foes that are really close. It's pretty good. Can't go wrong with that. Now for boss fights, it's going to depend. For example, if I'm fighting, say, Turtle on FBI, if I got a really good group, what I'll do is, I know it's a really good burn group, so let's just say Turtle raises up. Before he comes up, I'll have my circle protection down. Turtle raises up. I'll initiate with Radiant Strike. Do my Sacred Weapon. 2 Divine Calls. Sacred Weapon. Pop my Artifact. And then drop my Divine Judgment. Of course, it would be a Soul Sight. If you're really quick with that, you can double stack Sacred Weapon. Okay? You can do a lot of damage. If you look at the Sacred Weapon, the next 3 single target attacks deal bonus radiant damage. Okay? So your Divine Judgment is a single target attack. Alright? In addition to adding a Force Taunt, it's doing an increase of 15% damage per rank. That's a lot of extra damage. I forgot what the percentage for the rank 1. It may be just 15%. So let's just say it's 30, that's 60%. If you double stack it, that's 120% increase in damage right there. If I'm in a hug group and the guys aren't doing so well, I'll still run my Circle of Protection. And I will run Templar's Wrath to keep my temp hit points up. And just fight on. Now, if I get enough temp hit points, okay, I will swap out in the middle of the battle. I will drop Templar's Wrath, and I will put Bane. So that's an option too. Alright. Now, if you're at Droopy, so for Droopy, I will run Valve and Sacred Weapon. So that way I don't have to chase her around. I can maintain aggro with Valve and Sacred Weapon for the damage and a Force Taunt as well if you're struggling with aggro. Now, if you're squishy, okay, you don't have to run Sacred Weapon. You can run Templar's Wrath, get your tip hit points up, and then run Bane if you prefer Bane. Your auras, always Aura of Courage and Wisdom. Just never leave your slot, especially if you're so low OPing. If you didn't know, tooltip on Aura of Courage is wrong. The bonus damage it does is based on the person's hit points. It's not based off of my hit points. So the more hit points they have, the better damage they're going to do with Aura of Courage. I know some people for trash mobs like running Burning Light. You can. I just don't prefer it. It's just slow to me. Unless, of course, you know, you just tap it. But you're not really getting the big benefit of it by doing a tap. So, I mean, it's really a preference of what you want to run with on that. For mounts, equip power, you got a couple different options with OP. If you want to be best in slot, power share, 4K power. Okay. If you are trying to do like more damage, pop more dailies, then snail. You could run with the obviously legendary snail, 25% is best in slot for that. You could go with the 15% epic snail, and that'd be fine too. Some people, if you can only do one legendary mount, then you probably want to go with the T-Rex. You get 2K power, 2K armor pen. And its combat power, as you probably already know, is good for group content. Another good combat power is the Golden Lion, which is what I prefer. So that's a choice you'll have to make. Next mod, I will be trying to get a Bat Swarm for the combat power. But even if I don't get it, I still got 2 good combat powers. So that's going to be up to you as an individual. I know some people say run Tensor's Disc as a combat power. Don't do it. It's a waste. Complete waste. If you don't have a legendary mount and you still want to just do power, do 2K power. I know that some people, they got the, I don't think I have it. No, I don't have it. The legendary Triceratops, the 16K hit points. You could use that, but here's the thing. 2K power gives you more power to power share than 16K hit points. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you get it cheap, hey, you know, have at it. But that is a decision. That is something you're going to have to think about. I think that is about it. Basic at will is going to be Shielding Strike, and then obviously Radiant Strike. Here's the thing too, a lot of people, you need to do Radiant Strike when you're in your fights and your rotations. You need to do Radiant Strike at least once every 15 seconds. Alright, Radiant Strike is going to give you an increase of 5% damage. It's also going to give you 5% to your armor pen. So when you're building OP, you can cut off 5% armor pen, because when you're in the boss fights, you should be doing Radiant Strike at least once every 15 seconds. And that is all I got. If you have any questions, be sure to ask. Thank you.